Today on our 2017 Ford F-150, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck. Part number C607-649. This is what our hitch looks like installed from underneath the truck. What sets this hitch apart from other ones is it's going to have a dual locking pin. It's going to help stabilize your gooseneck ball a little better, keep it from moving around. The hitch is going to have a nice black powder coat finish to help resist rust and corrosion. It's going to sit directly on top of your frame of the vehicle. All your attachment points are going to be underneath the bed of the truck. Your frame brackets are going to mount directly to your frame on your vehicle. You're not going to drill any holes. It's going to come with all necessary hardware to get it installed. Your handle for your locking pin is going to give you plenty of access to lock it and unlock it. To unlock it, you simply pull it out, twist it. To lock it, you just turn it and spring it back in. This is what it looks like on the inside of the bed. As you can see, it sits flush with the bottom of the bed, so you're going to have total access to your bed. It's going to come with a ball. Simply slides into place. Again, you pull the handle, let it go. The double pin locks it into place. You can also flip it up. It has a nice handle on it. It also comes with a cap when you're not using it. Inside of here, it's got a little pin to keep the ball from dropping all the way down. It locks it into place on both sides. Your ball is going to be 2 5/16 in size. It's going to have a 7,500 pound max vertical weight, which is straight up and down. It's going to have a 30,000 pound max trailer weight. Now your safety chain U-bolts are going to sit down inside of your corrugation, and they are spring loaded. Makes it easy to attach to. The only drilling that you have to do for this hitch is for your safety chain hooks and for your hitch ball. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get it installed. First thing we need to do to start our installation is we need to find the center of our bed between our wheel wells. So measure between them. Now you can just take a black magic marker, anything. I'm just going to make sure I can find my center. Then I'm going to go from the back of the bed. We'll make sure you don't measure from the tailgate. You measure from the edge of the bed here. With the spray and bed liner, we're going to add an 1/8 inch to 3/16 onto our measurement to make sure we get center. Double check this mark here, just a little. Now we have our center mark. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a pilot hole where my mark is. Next we'll take a 4-inch hole saw and we're going to cut the circle out where our hitch is going to be placed. The reason I have this board here is I want to make sure that my wheel, when I'm cutting into it, doesn't bounce around. That's going to help keep it into place. Next, you're going to want to clean up the shavings. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a file. I'm going to get it right along the edge on the underside here and just kind of knock off some of the burrs. Just going to clean it up. I'm going to take a little bit of spray paint and I want to spray that inside edge because it's bare metal. I'm going to kind of help keep it from corroding or possibly rusting. Now your kit comes with a little black rubber seal that you can put around here if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and put it on, and it's split. I'm just going to take it like this, push it into place. Next thing we need to do is we need to cut a little notch in this to put our cross arm into place. So what I did is I kind of lined it up with the hole so that when I cut this out, my pull lever to open and close it will hit the same spot. So I'm just going to take a yellow paint marker, and this is a lip. So I'm going to try to stay right underneath it. And you can use 10 snips. I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a cutting blade on it. Next, we'll grab our cross beam and see if we can fit it in there and make any adjustments we need to. This angled bracket is going to go toward the back of the vehicle. So when you put it in, we'll slide it back to the back like that. And we'll just set it into place for now. And we can go ahead and put our front one in. You see this? There's a plastic hanger right here. It's holding up some wiring. We're gonna go ahead and pull that out now. We'll just take a trim panel tool and we'll just pop out that plastic hanger there for now. One thing I want to mention before we put our front crossbar underneath the vehicle bed, you want to make sure you clean these holes out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tap and die set and I'm going to run it through each hole to clean out any of the paint or anything else that's down inside there. Take a little bit of lubricant and spray our holes down. We'll take the tap, we're going to run it down through the holes and get everything cleaned out. And we're going to take one of our bolts, we'll thread it into place to make sure that we get it all cleaned out. And we'll do that with each of the holes on this front crossbar. Next, we'll put our front crossbeam into place. Just like the other one, it's going to span from frame rail to frame rail. We're going to push it all the way as far forward as we can up against this crossbeam here, or support beam, till we get underneath the truck. Now what we're going to do is we'll flip up our crossbar. You want to make sure that the holes, you can see the long and the short, you want to make sure that the holes are closer to the bottom of the vehicle, sorry, to the ground. And then when we flip this one, it's going to flip this way, like this. So we'll take this one and turn it up like that, and push it all the way up against our cross member there. Now we've gone ahead and removed our spare tire to make it a little easier. Now we're going to remove the heat shield. We'll use a 1/2-inch socket. We're going to have a bolt here. We're going to have two right on top here. And we'll just set this out of the way to reinstall later. So before we put our hitch into place, you keep in mind the truck has an aluminum bed and this is a piece of steel. It's going to come with an isolator kit. What you want to do is peel this off and you're going to put it around the top of the hitch like this. And this is going to keep the bed and the steel of this from rubbing together and causing the bed to corrode. It's just a piece of vinyl or plastic. It's sticky on one side. Next, we're going to raise our center section into place here. Lined up with our hole. We're going to take a couple of our 1/2-inch bolts. Let's get a couple of them started here. Place on this back bracket, we're going to put in flange nuts. Now we can put in the rest of our hardware. So now that we have the rest of our hardware in place, we're going to remove the ones that we put in to hold it up. We're going to take a conical tooth washer, teeth facing toward the hitch, and we're going to put our bolt in this way, like that. And then we'll put our flange nut on the inside. We'll do that with these two here. That. And then these two that we put in, we're going to pull out and we're going to put a conical tooth washer on. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pull wire with our spring in, spacer block, and a large carriage bolt. We're going to feed our spring in through this hole and come out this hole. Just like this. First we're going to put on our spacer block. Push it into the hole. And then we'll thread on our carriage bolt. onto the spring end of our pull wire. And push it into the hole. You want it to come out like that. Just leave that hang for now. On this one, we're going to do what's called a reverse pull. We're going to do the same thing with our plate and our bolt, except we're going to put our bolt in first, and then we'll feed our spacer block in. And you're going to pull it back out like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. From here, we're going to take our bracket that's going onto our frame, and we're going to feed our wires through the matching holes, which is going to be on the bottom of the bracket. And you want to make sure this side here is going toward the back of the vehicle. This arm, or this half moon shape here, is going to fit right over top of this. I'll show you here in just a second. Just like that. We're going to take one of our bolts, conical tooth washers, thread it into place through our front cross arm. That'll help hold up this bracket. Now we're going to remove this spring here. We'll add a large flange nut. Do the same thing here. Next, we'll take one of our larger carriage bolts. We're going to take one of these thicker silver colored spacer blocks. We're going to go through this back hole here. Then we'll follow it up with a flange nut. We're going to repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle. Once you have your side brackets in place, we're going to come back underneath the vehicle and we're going to torque the center section onto our rails first. We're going to torque them to the specifications listed in the instructions. Next, we'll take a 15/16 socket and we're going to torque down our frame brackets on the sides. We're going to torque down our bigger bolts first that are running on our frame. Now, if you can hear that sound, don't be alarmed. That's the teeth on the flange nut tightening down onto the bracket. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to torque our top two bolts down on both sides of the vehicle to the specifications and the instructions. And what I'm going to do with this next one is first, I'm going to tighten down as much as I can with a 3/4 inch wrench. And we'll put our torque wrench on it. Next, I'm going to drill my 4 holes for my safety chains. You can see there's 4 sets of holes on each side of our hitch. One side has the raise in it, the other side has the drop in it. We want the holes with the drop in it, which is the lower corrugation. I'm going to take a hole punch just to mark my spot. I want to go like this. Do the same thing on this side. I'm going to drill a pilot hole first. Do this on the same thing over on this side. Next, we're going to finish up our holes with a 1/2 inch drill bit from inside the bed. Next, we'll clean up our shavings here. And we'll paint the inside of the hole where the metal is showing. Now that we've got our holes drilled, we can drop our safety chain U-bolts into place. Next, we're going to take one of our short springs and 2 flat washers. We'll put 1 flat washer on the top, spring on, and another flat washer like this. Then we're going to thread on one of our lock nuts. And we're going to do that same thing on our last 3 threaded ends of our safety channel. And we're going to take a 3/4 inch socket, and you only want to tighten these to where the bolt is flush with the end of the nut. Next, we're going to put our dual locking pin in place, just like that. You want to make sure that the open end is going toward the top. Then we're going to take our handle. I'm going to go in from the driver's side and feed it through. Just like this. Do the holes like this. We'll take a washer, and then we're going to take this long spring. We're going to put it on like this. And we're actually going to put another washer right here. And what we want is, if you see that hole in our rod, you want it to line up with that hole there. And we're going to take this little nut and bolt, and that's what's going to hold that in place. Get it through. Then we'll put on our nut. Next, we'll take a 7mm socket and an 8mm wrench. The 7mm socket is going to be for the head of the bolt. The 8mm wrench or socket is going to be for the nut. The next one we want to do is we're going to pull our handle to make sure it's going to come through the notch that we made out earlier. And as you can see, it does. We have plenty of room. Now we'll take some rubbing alcohol, and we're going to take off the yellow paint that we had put on from the paint marker. I'm going to take some clear coat. I'm going to spray that bare metal. And last, we are going to put on our sticker for our handle. And that'll do it for the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck hitch, part number C607-649 on our 2017 Ford F-150.